Okay, today's video is going to be a bit of a strange one. Keep listening because I have a secret I want to share with you at the end of this. You see, as I have helped people become certified, I have the opportunity to talk with people, to listen, to get emails, really a good sampling of what's going on in the Magento certification industry. The one thing I have found is very fascinating and kind of troubling to me is that I've begun to notice a trend of certain groups of people from different places in the world that have a tendency to fail more often than others. And again, I say this is troubling because I don't think of anybody as being less intelligent than anybody else. We all have at least the same intelligence. In fact, I'm sure most of these people who are trying to take the test and trying to pass it probably are significantly more intelligent than me. So I've given this a lot of thought. What could I do to help everybody pass the test, maybe even the first time? Wouldn't that be ideal? It's not always ideal because I failed my share of tests too. So my journey for answers, as I'm talking to people, listening, I had a conversation the other day that I found really fascinating, and I think it might be a part of the solution to what we're talking about here. And you see, the key is, what I wanted to say, that I believe culture may make a difference as to how easily somebody passes a certification. I'm not talking about culture as far as language. No, I'm talking about cultures from what influences us, like the collective norm surrounding us. Maybe the most influential culture would be what we grew up in, and really influential as far as how we think every single day. Our parents, our friends, the school we go to. And ultimately, again, every micro up to a macro change, again, to be really clear, I believe is equal. I don't think any culture is superior to another. And that's the fun thing, the fascinating thing about traveling and experiencing cultures. It completely broadens your worldview. But you might be saying, Joseph, what does culture have to do with taking a test? I mean, come on, I just want to pass this test. All right, let me ask you a question. Did you grow up in a culture that prizes memorization and test taking? In fact, I believe some areas in this world, as I have researched, prize test taking so much that they set aside certain times of the year to completely focus on studying and then taking and passing these tests. To be frank, people from these parts of the world make incredible doctors, surgeons, medical professionals, and ultimately many other professionals as well. In fact, people from these places in the world comprise a large number of doctors and surgeons in the United States. But here's what I find is fascinating. So if we have on the one side of the spectrum, we have test taking and memorization, which again is great. It's so important. But on the other side of the spectrum, we would have the ability to solve problems, be fluid in that. Again, neither one is better than the other. They both have their pros. But here's the thing I want to point out. Magento tests are written to promote problem solving and ultimately very little memorization. So if you go through and you remember the types of the additional payment methods that Magento Commerce offers, unfortunately, you will fail the test. And I've seen this happen way too often. So like I said, this is going to be a strange video, but I think it's critically important. So here is what I believe is my secret to passing the test. Unfortunately, it's not a silver bullet, but it's my secret to passing every single Magento test except for one. And the secret is invest the time. Instead of memorizing or working through practice tests, trying to fetch all the questions and the answers and remember them, the goal is you spend that same amount of time in Magento, in the application, whether if it's for a developer test, stepping through line by line the code, working through the study guide, and how can you apply this, write sample modules, instead of going through and trying to memorize a bunch of facts. This might represent a slightly new direction. It could represent a radically different direction for you. My friends, this is what is necessary to pass the test. I want to see you successful. I love to see the Magento U certification directory expand and then ultimately have your name listed there. What I've said today, do it, and you will pass the test. Of course, if you found this video helpful, informative, feel free to push that like button, and I always appreciate it. Again, my goal is to see you successful and pass the test.